Norris, would you please lead us in our invocation?
Absolutely. May we bow. Dear God, we thank you for this day. We come with thankful hearts and being grateful, God, for everything that you've given us. Life, health, strength, food, clothing, opportunities. God, we know you are a God who does exceedingly abundantly more than we can ask or imagine. So we are thankful for everything that you've done, that we've asked for, and those things that you planned for us that we have no idea. God, we ask that you show up in this meeting, God, and touch our hearts, our minds, that whatever we do, it works to serve your purpose and to be to your glory. God, you know our hearts. You know where our hearts are for the people of Odessa and for this city. We ask that when we leave this place, God, that we have done the work that is worthy of you, that you would say, well done, that we've been good stewards over the things that you have given us responsibility. As we leave this place, God, give us traveling grace and arriving mercy to our selected destinations. We'll forever give you the glory, the honor, and the praise. All these things we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? First, the United States Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. First item on our agenda is consider the minutes of October the 8th. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Any questions or comments?
I move we approve them as written. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of October 8th. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have an acknowledgement from the Illinois Art Museum. Nicole Hurden is here. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I am with members of our board of directors behind me, and we have come to share our sincere appreciation to ODC for your continued support and incredible generosity for supporting our initiatives moving forward with this beautiful building that we are building, but more importantly, to enrich the cultural arts and advance economic growth in our city. And we couldn't do that without your incredible gift. So we want to just share our sincere thank you to each one of you for considering us and for giving us such a wonderful gift. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your nice comments. I think this is the biggest gang we've ever had here.
We wanted to come out in force. We wanted to show our appreciation.
Anybody have any comments?
I'd like to thank Austin Keith for we've come a long way since that meeting at the city council to get where we are right now. And we stuck it out and we made it, and it's in the my office is right down the street from the museum, and it looks awesome.
Thank you.
I can't say enough.
And
I'm just glad. I've been waiting for this day for 3 or 4 years.
And you're opening early December?
We are. We are opening officially to the public on December 6th with a big ribbon cutting ceremony. You all will receive invitations for that. And then open fun hands-on art activities all afternoon. So yes, 12:30.
Well, congratulations
for
it. It looks great, and congratulations on going forward with offering our community something in the area of arts that's really valuable to the community.
We are so appreciative.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. All right, next item is citizen comments on non-agenda items. Any member of the public may address the LDC board regarding any of its agenda items before or during consideration of the item. Have anyone here that has a comment? Seeing none. The contractor's reports. Tom is not here. He's a new grandfather. I think Monica is going to make a presentation on behalf of the Economic Development Department of the Chamber.
I am. Good afternoon, everyone. As David stated, I'm here on behalf of Tom, who has just welcomed his second grandbaby. So we're having, and Ashley, another employee at the chamber, had a baby. So we've had 2 babies at the chamber this week. We. Okay, just as far as on the report, the project list, there's not a whole lot that has changed on that project list. I just want to bring to your attention that next Wednesday, the owner, or I'm sorry, he is actually a vice president of R&L, will be coming to Odessa to do a site visit. So we're hosting him for breakfast and taking him on a couple of visits for him to look around and see where he wants to expand. So that is next week. And then as far as the Odessa economic indicators, that page is also in your packet. I do want to point out that the labor market statistics doesn't have any numbers under those columns, and that's due to the government shutdown. Now that it's opened back up, we anticipate receiving those soon, so we'll get those to you. And just a few updates from business retention and expansion and the workforce areas. MJ Martinez has been talking to Kyvec Energy Services. They have inquired about our local business incentives for them. The company is exploring a $300,000 expansion to establish a system integration of panels focused on servicing and upgrading control panels. This is to help support local industries by keeping their automation and control systems running safely and efficiently. So that's on that. And then as far as the workforce report, in October, we were focused on business expansion, partnerships, and regional visibility. We met with FITEX as well as Houston investors on potential projects that will create new local jobs, and represented Odessa at the Permian Basin International Oil Show as well as the Texas Economic Development Council Conference. We continue to strengthen collaboration with the Texas Workforce Commission, Texas Workforce Solutions, and Odessa College to explore initiatives and just workforce training ideas in our area. And then most recently, I had the chance to attend the videotaping of Skill Point Alliance that was run by Current Media and Christy and her team. The purpose of that video was to highlight and promote Skill Point's pre-apprentice electrical training program that's being offered at Odessa College. If you'll remember, this is a PSP-funded program that is free to every student that every student that's accepted to attend this program. The program director, Maria Delgadillo, and a current student were interviewed to share their insights about the program and their hands-on learning approach. That taping took place in their lab at Odessa College, which really provided a really strong visual of the good work that's happening there. So that will be running on our social media. I believe Christy said that's started running this week. So be on the lookout for that, and it's a really neat program, and electricians is definitely a work or a skill that is going to be needed with just so much going on in automation and AI and such. So do you have any questions for me?
I have one comment. I'd like to piggyback that. At your first workforce committee meeting, if you will, we talked about the fact that there are a lot of opportunities for our labor force to acquire new skills, different skills, greater skills, whatnot. And we talked about the fact that what can be done to push out this information so that everyone in the labor force understands that it's out there and available, and that they might be able to take advantage of it. And this is just one example of what the ODC is doing in order to try to spread the word, if you will, with those opportunities. So I think
Yes.
that's a really good first step.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're excited to be able to do that on behalf of our community, obviously, and for businesses that are looking to come here and those that are already here and need those services or need the skill workforce that they're needing.
Great.
So thank you, David.
Any
Appreciate it.
questions for? Thanks, Monica.
Thank you.
All right, you have current media information in the packet. Black Chamber of Commerce information's in the packet. UTPB Small Business Development. I noticed, James, that you're listed here, so that tells me that you probably have something to say about Motran.
Not James.
Well, Mr. Boutan, I think I'm listed in the packet because I skipped the last meeting, and so I rolled over to this one. So I will tell you real quick, though, one of the things we're handing out there is a little kind of activity sheet of things that have happened in the Permian Basin, particularly in about the last 3 to 5 months of things going on. And this kind of coincides with our annual meeting, which will be December 4th, and we'll be shooting that information out to you. I know that I'm supposed to be here talking about roads, but one of the things that we always have to do, particularly with the Department of Transportation and everybody else everywhere else, is explain why the Permian Basin is relevant. And this really goes into a lot of the economic activity that's going on out here that continues to spur this on, that we get their attention to show, hey, there's still things going on. We still need to invest dollars out here. If you read through this report, it's pretty long, and I think Christy Calicott back there was about ready to shoot me by the time we were putting this thing together. Most of it really revolves around two things, and they both go back to natural gas. One of those is a tremendous amount of investments in pipelines, taking natural gas to the Gulf Coast, which kind of goes in with a lot of our work on I-14 and things of that nature. If you get to the Gulf Coast, you're looking about $2.20 is your pricing, whereas over the last year they've averaged about 30 cents at the Waha hub. So having that other outlet is, as a banker, you understand this, is tremendously important to those companies. It brings a lot of value without a lot of additional activity, really. So there's kind of a good part there. The other thing has been data centers, and we had a big one that announced just south of Fort Stockton that was a partnership, Poolside AI, CoreWeave's part of that, NVIDIA's part of that, and then Katera is the gas provider for that, and a partnership there. And we're starting to see a lot more of those. There's going to be another one announces here very shortly that's going to be very, very large, a little bit north of there. And there's a lot of them looking at this area. One of the things that was interesting, Poolside, when they did this, put out a white paper that's really made the rounds of Silicon Valley, and it's why we located in the Permian Basin. And it really goes back to natural gas. Natural gas is cheap. And if you've got enough natural gas and it's that cheap and you can generate your own power, you don't need water to cool. You can just air condition. And so it's been making a lot of rounds. The only thing that they ever really expressed as a concern out here on that arena was fiber capabilities. And so at our annual meeting this year, one of the ones we're bringing in is Segra, which is formerly UPN, which is the primary fiber provider out here outside of AT&T, which is as far as bringing that service in and out of the area. So we'll have that. Joseph Tripke, who does an industry publication on a lot of this and is originally an Odessa kid, graduated from here. He has infill thinking, which is well known in the industry side of things, is going to be coming and speaking about some of that too and the activity he's seeing there. So I think it'll be interesting, and we'd love to have you for that. The other thing that I would mention that goes back to roads, this last week, I guess, TxDOT came out with their 100 most congested roadways in Texas, and that'll be followed shortly with the 300 most congested roadways in Texas. They did have 2 roadways on that list in Midland on the truck capacity issues, and both of those related back to portions of 349, one going up and around through the city, which is really more of a city issue. The other one was 349 going south of Midland, which is one we've worked on previously for the planning and development of that is 4-lane divided. So a lot of that's being handled with I-14 and I-27 planning that has recently started on part of it, and we'll be going forward on the next part of it. 42nd Street, though, in Odessa has, for the last, well, since I've been doing this, so that go back to 2003, has been on the 300 most congested roadways in Texas. And so to give you a little update there, we did meet with Craig Stoker earlier this year. We brought in TxDOT, Judge Fawcett was there to talk about 42nd Street. And one of the things that the department has agreed to do is a high level, it's more of a technical, not a foofy study where we start talking about beautification and all that, but really a technical study with engineers talking about how we better flow that traffic on 42nd Street. We brought in a series of pictures where we photographed from about Billy Hext back over to Grandview and the backups you're seeing out there even. And so what that'll be doing is looking at what are some very practicable, doable ways outside of double decking to fix that. And a lot of it's going to have to do with access. You know, we've got places where there are 4 or 5 entry points within 100 feet. That causes problems, but maybe you can consolidate some of those. Maybe you can bring in entry-exit lanes there for those to help not impede the rest of the traffic. But again, that's something they'll be working on there, and they'll bring suggestions and things like that forth. That'll have to go through a more public process at that point, but really having that high-level technical engineering study to look at what you can do on that. Like I said, that list has been on there forever. where that item's been on the list. And it was originally identified in 2003 as a capacity constraint, and to my knowledge, there's never been a specific scope of work to look at how you improve that. A lot of people batted around ideas over the years, but as far as a particular technical engineering study of that, that hasn't occurred. So I think that's probably 20-something years overdue, but good that that'll be moving forward this year. The final part to this is 349 kind of got us to thinking south of the city of Midland there. You know, when we did our initial designation of I-14, we added the 385 corridor going south of Odessa to provide that connection to I-10. And over the years, one of the things that we've also done there is upgraded that 4-lane divided to continue from Crane on down to McCamey. And we were kind of really looking at that lower portion, how you finish up that connection to I-10. It's difficult because those are all very low traffic counts. And so it's been kind of a difficulty getting people to want to pursue that project. But as we looked at what's happening on 349, the same thing happens in South Odessa on 385. From the point you leave I-20 getting down to South Loop 338. So in our discussions with the department, one of the things that has come up is maybe what we need to do on the next step of that development, instead of worrying about the connection down to I-10, is go ahead and look at that portion directly south of Odessa at I-20, going down to Loop 338 and on really down to the Ector-Crane County line. And looking at controlling access by go ahead and adding access roads there. So I think that's one thing that we can kind of look at there. And again, just from a safety perspective, 385, and it doesn't matter whether you look south or north. It's a 4-lane divided roadway that's supposed to be the gold standard in safety. The problem is we have so many turnoff points and you have so many trucks on that roadway making last-minute turns that you have a lot of accidents and issues there. And if you can kind of segregate your turn space from your main lane through traffic by looking at the development of those access roads, I think you greatly improve safety and you better flow that traffic. And when you think of all the people that live down there in the Pleasant Farms area and all that sort of thing, along with the development that occurs there, just oil and gas activity, I think that may be a good direction for us to take at this point, and then we can come back to that connection down at I-10.
James, for the last several years, I know safety has been a big issue with TxDOT, and certainly we've pushed it from Motrans perspective and communities. Does it continue to be one of the high priorities with regard to what they're trying to do and what we're trying to do?
In Odessa today, 53% of your fatalities involve an intersection, which goes back to what we've been trying to do with the loop development, build out those overpasses, South Loop 338 and 385, North Loop, all of those sorts of things. So yeah, from that perspective, it is. One area where Odessa has been a little bit better the last few years, and particularly better than your neighbor there to the east. Last year, only about 12% of commercial motor vehicle fatalities involved a commercial motor vehicle fatality here, which in Midland, that's probably closer to 35 or 36%. So the biggest safety issue we really have, if you look at the region as a whole, though, is commercial motor vehicles. And I don't know if that's something we can address from a road construction issue, or if that's we've got to do a better job of getting better drivers and better training those drivers than just putting anybody behind the wheel that needs a job.
Well, I know one of the things that prompted this question for me was when you were talking about congestion, because, I mean, the more congestion you have, the more likely that you're going to have some safety issues. And so I'm hoping that we continue to keep that uppermost in our minds.
Well, and I think Odessa's probably been a little bit more progressive there on that. So a couple of years back, the city of Odessa said we don't want trucks coming up and down the middle of downtown on 385. The big problem in Midland is business 349 that goes through the middle of the city, and it's truck traffic. It's not normal traffic, it's truck traffic. And so I think one of the things in that regard that we could look at that probably would help is if we better designate where trucks should be and shouldn't be. I know that always gets a little bit touchy, and you don't want to make it enormously problematic, but you don't need sand trucks going down the middle of 42nd either. So there's probably some things there that can happen as well.
Any additional questions for?
I do. In these safety studies y'all talk about, is anybody with the, say, the City of Odessa Police Department or the Midland Police Department or the DPS, are they involved in any of these conversations?
They are. They have a number of deals. When we talk about this stuff, it's just going through the stats.
Yeah, because everybody can agree to this. You have no police presence on any of these places. And so it's like, you know, we've all probably driven in Houston, Dallas, and rush hour traffic. This is far worse because as long as you know there's no consequence, you're gonna break the law. And the latest, the greatest example was when they made 191 one lane right there by Fodry Road. And it was a race. There was 3 signs there by the exit, but it was a race. They got it open now, but there's still posted signs on both sides say 60 miles an hour. And this is my rub with this whole deal is the border's secure, everybody's done, where are all the officers? And I might be asking the wrong people. You know, where's all the DPS people we hired for down there? They need to be back in West Texas. And if you needed somebody, you're not gonna get anybody. And, you know, it's like everything else we do, it's reactionary. And I understand yours is not, yours is planning and providing, but
I will say,
and that is reactionary. And then there's none of that.
And one of those things is cities kind of have to work with their police department, say, here's what we want to really look at. And I think prioritizing some traffic safety would be really good. And that's one of the things they'll have to do. Now, they get into constraints there.
Yeah.
One of the bigger constraints we had out here, DPS was funded, or well, they weren't funded. They were staffed at about 25% of what they were projected to get.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just that. It was they
wasn't enough to go around.
couldn't get people to come here.
Yeah.
And I will say I think that's a little better. I think we're about 40%. They got some additional money last time. They got some more money this time to kind of up those salaries, get more people through that academy. But that has a tremendous impact for us on the commercial motor vehicle side because local police officers and local sheriff's department don't want to have to try to police that. You have to go through a different training to be able to do that. You have to have additional equipment, and most of those departments are busy working crashes, so they don't want to go out and be proactive on commercial motor vehicles. And so I think if we can get more DPS.
Yeah, well, I understand that. As far as the city goes too, you know, the city annexed part of Interstate 20 because they wanted the tax revenue or whatever from the building. So when they did that also, and everybody probably knows it, or maybe you don't know it, but then again, there's no presence there. If the city's gonna take it, then the city, and this, I've already brought this up with the city council, but our commissioner, or not commissioner, some councilman. So, but if you're gonna take responsibility and do it, there's other ways to do that. And that was my main question though, was how is everybody talking about, we don't wanna talk about safety, and we talk about people that aren't authorized to drive, that are driving, and all this other stuff we say. And that was my question, was that, how involved are they in your decisions making the road safer? Cause they're out there, it's like I'm out there every day. Some of these other guys, they drive every day, everywhere, and we see what's going on. And
A little bit goes a long ways.
Yeah.
It's the
Thank
point
you.
you were saying, if people know they can't get by with something, they won't keep doing it.
right, thank you for your time.
No problem.
Any other questions?
Thank y'all.
Thank you, James. Kaylee, financial information?
Does anybody need a hard copy of the financials that were sent? I have
I need a hard copy.
Oh, we'll just pass them on down. Okay. So this is a big one. This is the fiscal year end statement. So lots to discuss here. Well, I say that, but you know, it's just a big deal because it's the end of the year, so it's kind of exciting for me. So we'll just start on the balance sheet. The total available in our pools is 78.4 million at the end of the year. That's going to be our text pool and our logic accounts. That is net of that amount that is supposed to go towards the city for expenditures we make on behalf of ODC, and we break that out later so you can see that. Below, you'll see all at the end of the year everything that was outstanding as far as commitments go. So our long-term and our short-term commitments come to about 19.7 million. This balance sheet is showing an unreserved fund balance amount of 63.5 million. That doesn't mean necessarily you just have $63.5 million laying around. There are some commitments that the board is going to make this year, if y'all decide to, regarding infrastructure projects, and there's the money that y'all have decided to set aside, the 25 million, just in case an incentive deal or something comes along that is enticing. So it looks like a really big number, but as we have all discussed in here,
Make sure that gets in the minutes.
I think we're all on the same page on what is available for use. So, any questions on that before we flip to the P&L? Okay. So, big deal. We came in at 123% of our sales tax budget. Very exciting. That means people are spending money in Odessa, and we love it. We love to see it. So, the actuals that we collected for fiscal year 25 in sales tax alone, $15,394,735 for the Odessa Development Corporation. We budgeted 12.5, and I think in fiscal year 26 we budgeted either 13 or 13.5. So still conservative as we try to make sure that we budget conservatively. Total income for the year, $20,152,000. We did come in over. There was an excess of revenues over expenditures of 8.3 million. So that means your fund balance did grow in fiscal year 25. Any questions on any of these line items? None of them are over budget in any way, so that's definitely a good sign. Okay. All right, the next page is the reserve fund balance report and what was paid out. There were 2 grants paid out during the month of September. There was Walkaman for $733,000, and then Border States for $194,000. I believe that was Border States' first grant payment, so that's exciting that that one's finally completed and moving, and hopefully we see more grant payments come since the first domino has fallen on that one. Again, total reserve fund balance at the end of the month for incentives on the books or grants on the books, 19.7 million. The next page is going to be the investment summary. So under that government pool line, you'll see where we broke out what comes in on your government pool statements totals to $93.4 million. We did put the line item for the 15.46 that we need to journal over to the city's books to match that 78 million that you saw on your first page on the balance sheet.
So will that get cleaned up at year end?
It is going to be cleaned up more frequently than that. We are working on getting that on our monthly checklist for the accountants to do so that there's not such a huge discrepancy in your financial reporting when you see it.
So is that a yes or no?
Yes.
It's going to be off, when we get the audit for September,
Yes.
that number's going to be gone.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Mm-hmm. Yes. On the next page, you'll see a beginning and end snapshot for the pools and the investments. I did want to clarify a couple of the line items under CDs. The First Bank and Trust and West Texas National Bank have some old dates on there. The West Texas National Bank did auto renew for a 1 year, a 12-month period. So the new maturity date on that is going to be 9/14/26. And that auto renewed at the same rate that they gave us, which was 3.21. But when we look at some of the other investment options we have, the 3.21 is not great. So we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about the investment committee findings. But they did give us the same rate. The First Bank and Trust, that one matured 8/30/25, so that one has matured already. It was an 8-month CD, so they likely renewed it for another 8 months. When it matured, it was at a 4.32, so it probably has come down to around 4. I'm just waiting to verify that because I don't have that statement yet in my records. Any questions on that? As we look at the investment committee findings here in a little bit, we'll talk about
Yeah.
some of the rate comparisons that we have compared to those CDs.
All right, any questions for Kaylee? Again, she'll be back up here working when we.
I'll be
we
back
have
a few times.
Do
investment.
it on right
Huh?
now. Can't do it on right now. We'll get you
I
out of
can,
order.
I can race through this part real
Okay.
quickly. The Odessa Partnership's gonna meet in December, advertising, I don't know whether y'all had a meeting or not,
No, we had one prior.
okay? Peggy's not here, I don't think compliance met, investment review, we could go ahead and do that now. And Thomas and Kaylee are gonna kinda tag team that one.
All right, so the investment committee did meet. As we all know, there are likely some rate cuts coming from the Fed. The investment committee wanted me to reach out to one of our partners that we use for investments just to get an expert opinion on what the rate environment was going to look like over the next few months. And once this PowerPoint opens, I will show you. I will show you what we found.
Need to pour a little coffee on it or something.
I guess so. We all need a little caffeine. All right.
It was there and then it wasn't. There you go.
So the big question was, we have liquid funds that are earning rates, text pool and logic right now as of today. 3.97% in text pool. Logic always pays a little bit higher at 4.07. This is not permanent, right? As rates start to come down, these are going to come down. So the question that the investment committee had was, should we put some more money in some investments for a 12-month period or so to get some better rates? And so I did two things. I pulled one, of course, the balance from the balance sheet that you have there, $78 million. And then I pulled the SNP from the reserves forecast that we all looked at together during budget season. So if you'll see down on the, almost to the bottom, it says total expenditures. You are forecasted as a board to have $21.2 million in expenditures. This encompasses your operating expenditures. It has your, all of the grants you have on the books. We did incorporate some tech stop projects, although I don't think that you'll see those payments come to fruition because those are just projects that are being let in fiscal year 26. That doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have any payments to TxDOT, but just for conservative purposes, it's in there. So there's a lot of leeway, $78 million in liquid funds, $22 million expected to be outgoing, and that's before even considering anything that is incoming. And so the investment committee, before we go there, the interest rate forecast that I mentioned earlier is from Bloomberg Analytics. And this is a screenshot from some correspondence from Chris Sullivan. He's with Oppenheimer, and they are who we facilitate all of our investment purchases through. So you'll see in the date and projected effective funds rate, 4/29/26, 3.5. July of 26, 3.28. October down to 3.1, which is essentially a year from now. January of 27, 3.08, 4/28/27, 3. So they are projecting a steady decline over the next 12 to 15 months. As such, the investment committee is recommending that the board consider investing $10 million in some viable investments that will produce higher returns over a 12-month period than essentially anything above 3.5, right? Because we know for sure it's going to get to at least that.
Kaylee, text pool and text logic, does that float daily?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It does, yes. So some options we have. These are from Oppenheimer. I had them sent yesterday. So these could be different today. These fluctuate on a daily basis, but you know, to just try to have some data ready for you, I pulled them yesterday. So I've highlighted some options here. These are agencies. So there were not many municipal securities that Oppenheimer really thought would give us the returns we were looking for, which is why these are primarily agencies. So the investments you have on your books right now are agencies. I've highlighted some here. You'll see the maturity column. Most of them, they're October and later. The yield to maturity column, third from the right, is what we would gain. I tried to pick ones that were either non-callable, which means we would see that full return, or very unlikely to be called. And so there's one, two, I think I have one on the next page. There's two from FFCB, which is an agriculture-based agency. Those are offering a little bit higher rates across the board because banks are trying to make ag loans right now, so they're trying to borrow money so that they can lend out money and make money, which I thought was kind of interesting. FHLB and FHLMC are the two other ones. So 3.585, which would mature in December of 26, very unlikely to be called. Rates would have to drop below that coupon rate, which is second from the left, in order for us to have that bond called. Yes, sir. Oh, I thought you had a question. I'm sorry. 3.6 to mature October of 26, 3.592 to mature again October 29, 26, and then 3.602 to mature November 18th, 26. So we want to know the board's thoughts on essentially splitting the 10 million between
You want to
these four.
split it 2.5 into 4 funds? Is that what you want to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anybody got a problem with that?
I don't. I was gonna ask you.
No, I think we ought to talked about
Yeah.
trying to lock some up
Sure.
because we think rates are going to continue to go down. It's not a lot of our liquidity. It's $10 million. We got 60 that we can play with. So we're still going to have the majority of it in tax pool, which is going to continue to go down, I think.
And it's accessible.
And it's
Mhm.
accessible, so we need the money.
Yeah.
So, if you need a motion, I would move that we invest 2.5 in these 4 funds she's found. And
I'll second that.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kaylee. Peggy's not here, but this Industrial Water Task Force, I think we all understood, I appointed that task force, and Ronnie and Tim are on that, so if, would one of y'all like to tell us about your first meeting? I know you had your first meeting.
Yes, we had
Yeah.
a first meeting, and the consensus was actually there are viable sources of water for us to acquire. It's not like we think about limited to, and we are, everybody's under the understanding that we are gonna need a lot more water for some of these projects that wanna come into town. And there is available, so we had several other people on the committee that were there and having knowledge like we do about where to get it from and where it comes from. And as we stopped this time, we identified those, now we're gonna look deeper into actually acquiring them and what it'll take to get it where it's readily available. Where we have like 10, 15 million barrels a day that'll come to us.
Yeah.
Just like quickly.
Yeah, so when we're recruiting, we're talking to expanding businesses, we're talking about recruiting businesses, it gives us the opportunity to at least have something in our hip pocket with regard to what are your needs, and then, you know, they tell us what our needs are, well, we can accommodate that. That's what we're trying to get to.
And everybody needs water.
Yep, absolutely.
Lots of water.
the other three members on the task force, Gary Hayner, John Landgraf, and Tommy Urban. So, all right. Any questions with regard to that work? Thank you for your work on that. All right, next item on the agenda, remove from the table and discuss, consider a resolution approving infrastructure and facade improvements for for tiny footprints. If you remember, we tabled this because the compliance committee was looking for more information, and I don't know whether that happened or not. So
Brian's here from the compliance committee.
there he is.
Can we have a motion to remove from the table?
So made.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second to remove from the table. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now, Brian, can't hide back there anymore.
Come on up.
Thank you. I'll try to be as smooth as possible. I'm the vice chair for the Odessa Compliance Committee. I got called an hour and a half ago. So, okay, on August 28th, the Compliance Committee reviewed and discussed a facade and infrastructure grant request by Tiny Footprints LLC, the Pediatric Center on Dotsey, a request of $41,312.50. That was comprised of a $25,000 facade request and an additional $16,312.50. And that was approved at a Tier 1 rate, just simply due to the vitalness of that type of a business really in the community. Since that time, I guess somebody went up and crawled around in the attic and on the roof and determined there was some additional infrastructure repairs that they would like to get. They would like to request help from the Odessa Development Corporation on $24,897.50 on a new AC unit, and $24,359 on a new roof, totaling roughly $49,250. And after some deliberation, Tom Mansky did state that in the past the ODC has approved HVAC and roof repairs. Chairman Brian Green, he actually was kind of reviewing everything. He didn't find anything explicitly stating that HVAC or roof replacements were permissible, but we didn't find anything that excluded it. So after a lot of deliberation, Betsy Triplett Hurt did make a motion to fund the facade grant of $25,000 and the new infrastructure grant request of $50,000, seconded by Tim Ogilvy, and it was unanimously approved. So that's $75,000 total on top of the $16,312.50 for the initial infrastructure. That was probably a lot.
So that's $25,000 for facade.
Yes, sir.
And then infrastructure total $69,109.
$66,312.50.
66,312. It's in the,
Oh yeah, it's in the document.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that totals $91,312.50. But that is what I have to present here today.
All right. Any questions regarding how we got there? Or?
they spent $175,000, right?
Well, total, yes.
200,000.
Yeah, 175 plus 25.
Okay.
If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So made.
Second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation by the Compliance Committee. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you taking time out of your schedule for us. All right, the next item on the agenda is removed from the table and discuss the resolution approving the parking deck from Ector County. The reason that this is on here, appears to me, is that we tabled this and the county is revising the project, including the project cost, and that a new application will be submitted to the Compliance Committee. So this information is really irrelevant to us at this point. And so if we could vote to remove this from the table, then we can deal with it at that time. So if I have a motion to remove it from the table.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to remove it from the table. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And I think my inclination would be to reject this, this resolution, because a new resolution, new revised resolution is gonna follow it. So let's deal with it that way. So I would entertain a motion to reject this.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, item number 11, consider resolution affirming the project compliance for cage equipment. And Monica, you gonna take care of that?
Hello again. All right, this is, as David said, this is the compliance monitoring report for cage equipment. And if you will turn to page 2 of the agreement and look at the bottom with the 4 bullet points, these are the procedures that were performed and results of the procedures that they had. This is the summary of the results. The grantee met the insurance coverage requirements per the EDA. The grantee met the total full-time equivalent FTE requirements for at least 14. They actually surpassed it by 1 and had 15. Total wages threshold for testing period was $1,214,395 versus the minimum required wages of $1,090,520. And the grantee met the investment requirements per the EDA. And since they are in compliance, it is recommended that they receive the payment of $318,000, which will be their 4th payment.
So there'll be one more after this?
I believe so.
5-year deal?
Any other questions?
I move we approve payment.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the payment. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, Monica. All right, consider a resolution approving the engagement letter of audit services by Weaver to conduct an audit of the Economic Development Department, our contractor of the chamber.
Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Renee texted me and asked me if I could be here today. And normally when she does that, she does the talking and I can do a beauty pageant way from the back. She's on a flight that landed late, so you're stuck with me. But I'm the partner over the 3 audits we do for the Odessa Chamber of Commerce. We do a standalone audit of EDD and give you guys an audit report that's just that entity. It doesn't include the other 2 divisions. And so we typically have y'all sign the engagement letter since you foot the bill.
Are there any significant changes in scope or anything?
Did the price go up?
Just a hair.
Huh?
Just $400.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I wasn't on it last year, so
No,
I didn't
you're
know
good.
what it cost.
Last year I was asked to give a discount, so.
It's
And y'all get,
8,600.
y'all get EDD's audit back in time? We're not late or anything?
No, the
Okay.
chamber audit team is fantastic.
Okay.
Valerie runs a very tight ship over there, so those get issued in January of every year.
Traditionally, there's been no issues.
No findings. I've been on the engagement for quite a while, and it's one of the easier ones I get to work on.
Since Valerie got over there.
Yes,
Because I was on the board before her and before Valerie, and it wasn't always easy.
I started with.
She's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I started
she
with
is.
the
She
firm
is
right
good.
when she took over,
For
and
sure.
we used to march down there once a quarter and test her transactions, and I'm glad we don't have to do that anymore.
All
I
right.
move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you. All right. Consider a resolution to support of tax abatements or concessions as an economic development incentive. As you recall, we added to our general development plan a bullet point regarding some support for, and when I'm gonna call them tax concessions, because the school district's tax abatement situation is a little different, and there are other options other than straight tax abatements. But the reason we put something in there to try to support tax concessions was to not only encourage the taxing entities to favorably consider this as assisting our economic development efforts by providing us this tool. When we're in a competitive situation, we certainly don't want to enter into negotiating with expanding businesses or relocating businesses and whatnot, where we're creating jobs and capital investment without all the tools that are available to us. We want to be able to compete with those communities in Texas. We want to be able to compete with communities nationwide for those valuable companies. And the resolution that was drafted, Renee and Tom put this together. I tweaked it a little bit, but it's pretty straightforward. And I think the intent would be, I've heard some rumblings in the community with regard to some of these elected officials who are not in favor of providing these concessions. And I would hate for that to go far enough whereby we couldn't be competitive in trying to lure these businesses here, incentivize local businesses to expand, create jobs and capital investment. And I think the simplest argument that I can come up with is, I think when we in our community have created all the jobs we need, and we've expanded the tax base as far as we can, then we can scratch this off our list and say we're not going to do these anymore. Well, I don't know that we'll ever get there, and certainly I don't believe we're there today. I think we want to continue to create good paying jobs with good benefits, and we want to expand the tax base to ease the burden on private citizens, thereby having companies that expand, paying additional ad valorem taxes. Certainly, a lot of times increases sales tax. But new businesses locating here and paying at, getting added to the tax rolls. So what I would like to do is ask the board to approve this resolution. I mean, if there's any additional comments, concerns, if we need to tweak it a little bit more, I'd certainly be open to that. But the intent here is to hand deliver this to each one of the taxing entities to pitch our argument that as an economic development engine, we need this tool when we're in a competitive environment. Anybody have any questions, concerns about that?
So we're just basically asking them for consideration when we have a project. I mean, this really doesn't do anything.
Well, what it does is it basically puts them on notice that says,
We're gonna be asking.
don't be just turning a blind eye to this and saying we're not doing it. That because that's what I'm hearing, that there are some folks who are against doing it. And I remember an argument. This has been a long time ago. This was before ODC was created. The president of Odessa College stood up in a meeting and said, we don't want to do these tax abatements because, we need the money. And of course, I remember standing up and saying, well, if they don't relocate or expand, you don't get the money. You don't have it. It's not something you're giving up.
Yeah.
And these are typically phased out over time. So this is basically ensuring the future of our tax base expanding and increasing the taxes that those entities collect. So that's what it does, in my opinion, is that maybe we can ward off some of that thinking that says, well, we can't afford to give up the money. Well, you don't have it, so you're not giving it up.
Can we take it a step further and get this resolution? We pass it today, and then we go and address each one of those entities and tell them what we did.
That's what my plan. That's what my plan would be.
Yeah, and then here, if there's some that have a reason we don't know why, we need to find out
Yeah.
why. and
Absolutely.
try to address it and get ahead of it, and stay ahead of it, is what your intent is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Let's get ahead of it.
I make a motion, we accept this resolution.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, question? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, the next item, Kaylee, the only question I have on this is, do we have these in reverse order? Should we be considering the resolution to amend and then consider the approval? I guess I'm thinking for some reason, we probably ought to at least approve the fact that we're gonna amend this agreement if the board chooses to do that. And then,
We can.
I think that makes more
Makes more
sense to
sense.
me.
Okay. Do we need to do?
So
say
let's
something?
take item 15 first, which would be discuss and consider a resolution amending the economic development agreement in Odessa College for the purpose of removing the requirement for an independent third-party compliance audit.
Okay.
Kaylee, you have the floor.
Alrighty. So, as you all know.
Excuse me, can we have a motion to suspend
Oh, yeah, that's.
the rules and then we'll switch the
I
agenda?
hate this part, but I'll do it.
So made.
Second.
Have a motion, second, to suspend the rules to take these out of order. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're doing the amendment first, right? That's what we decided.
Correct.
Okay.
Item number 15.
All right, so, as you all know, y'all have different types of grants that you hand out, or give out. The business incentive agreements are monitored by the third-party auditors. The compliance of it is monitored by them, so they look at payroll figures, IRS forms, W-9 forms to make sure that payroll has been complied with. They look at expenditure reports and things like that to make sure that construction costs have been expended as the agreement says. So there's a little bit more complexity to those business incentive type agreements, which is why the ODC has had the third-party auditor review that compliance. With the infrastructure grants that you all have just recently started doing more frequently, so I'm talking like the ICAs, the walk-up-ins, the DJKs, all of those are just reviewed in-house. So we take all of their expenditure reports, make sure the expenses are eligible towards the project and all those things, and we pay out the reimbursements. That has proved to be much quicker than having it go through a third-party auditor. And as you all know, each time Whitley Penn picks up an agreement to audit, it's a charge to you all. So those are kind of the two comparisons to this. So now we have started qualifying or clarifying these as workforce related grants. So these are the ones to UTB, to OC. For those, and you have the agreement in your packet, but for those, the requirements are not, payroll and things like that. That doesn't really make sense. These are more enrollment figures and making sure that the construction costs have been expended in accordance with the project. And so historically, the Odessa College agreements have been monitored by a third-party audit. But I brought this to David because OC has submitted their first request for the Wood Health Science Building for their first payment, their grant payment of $1 million. So I brought this to David, and I just wanted to get your opinion on whether or not you thought that these types of agreements still were still made sense to be reviewed by a third-party auditor, or if you would prefer that they be monitored in-house to expedite the payments for these workforce grants. So the amendment in front of you, the only thing that would change in the agreement for Odessa College would be to take out the line item that says it has to be monitored by an independent third-party auditor. So that would have to be decided first before we talked about their first grant payment.
So it'd be cheaper and more expeditious. That's really what we're looking at. And in my opinion, I don't think we're giving up any oversight, whereby we're gonna have some difficulty with, the fact that they're submitting a request for payment, either fraudulently or with major errors. I don't see that happening, so.
You know, we had this conversation once before about, I think it was one of the Bass Pro things, and they came back and wanted more money for something else. And I brought up the question of, are they finished? And that's only my only concern, not because I can tell you from the drilling aspect, I can go drill a well and tell you I lost circulation, and I can waste $1 million on mud that never got to the location and bill somebody for it, if that makes sense. So my only concern would be is who, because we didn't have at that time either, who monitors, who looks at the invoices and go, well, was this really done? And did we buy this for this project, or y'all just, because I know how accounting goes too, you just look through it, pay it, because you don't know.
So this one, yeah, I do remember talking about that.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit different. This one, they had to build the building and have 2 semesters of passing students before they even asked us for money.
Yeah.
So in this case, the building's done because we have enrollment figures. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit
Well, I
different,
mean,
but good point.
Once it's finished, you can hide off, and hear me out on this, because I've seen the dark side of this. Once it's finished, you can hide anything in there. Oh, it's in the building. Well, where was it? In other words, just, you would know. I mean, you guys are in banking. You know when you look at something and go,
Yeah.
wow, that's a crazy number for that. You know, we didn't spend that much on 2x4s and pre-cut studs.
Yeah, I think the other thing, Ronnie, in this particular case is that Odessa College is a known quantity. We're amending this agreement.
Yeah, I mean,
We're
if you
not
think so, it's
amending any,
okay.
we're not amending any going forward.
Okay.
We're
No,
not,
I mean-
we're not changing our philosophy.
So,
Yeah.
so a third party, all they're gonna, on this one, all they're gonna monitor or audit is that the college had 440 students in the fall, 440 in the spring, and that they have to graduate, or they had to be in compliance. or
They had
be
to
passing.
pass, I believe. I highlighted it here.
Cause the building's already done, they're already in it, so the
Yeah, I
building's
mean,
finished.
been done for a
So
while.
whatever I wasn't here, but whatever
Yeah,
we agreed to
whatever.
on the building's done.
It
Correct.
says with a passing grade, so it doesn't necessarily mean they have to graduate.
But they have to be passing.
Yes, it says college shall submit documents and certifications showing total number of online or on-campus students completing the course with a passing
So if we
grade.
do without this third-party audit, can your department, you feel comfortable that y'all can
Yes,
verify that?
Yeah.
yes, I do. And they submitted all their documentation, and we would look at it very closely to make sure it is in compliance. And I'll give you an example. They submitted, for the purpose of verifying enrollment figures, they submitted a letter with the number of students in the fall and the spring, the success rate, and signed by the Vice President of Institutional Effectiveness. It's just a letter. For my due diligence purposes, I would want maybe a report from the system with, sensitive data blurred out, but just showing the backup numbers to these, So we'll look at it very closely before we pay anything out in that regard.
But I heard the other day, y'all don't have enough accounting people to do what you're supposed to do. So my question is, can you do this, or should we get a third party to take that load off of you?
So
Since it was already agreed on.
that's a great point. I'm the one that handles the Odessa Development Corporation payouts. For separation of duty purposes, Kayla, who has been up here giving financial reports, is the driver on the audit and the accounting team. So I chime in when she needs extra assistance, which we always do. But there's got to be a separation of duties somehow, because we've got to keep the other parts of the city running on full cylinders. So this would not be an added burden to take on personally on my plate.
And really, does this really comes into effect whenever they're asking for the payout? Whenever we're coming to look for it?
After the fact.
Right.
She's just gonna verify that
Right.
number of students or whatever.
Right. And the payouts are not daily, weekly. I mean, we
No, it's
may
once a
have,
year, isn't
we
it?
have,
You're gonna pay them once a year based
Right.
on enrollment.
Correct.
And whether that enrollment was passing, so.
mhm. But I mean, just from a broader perspective, we maybe pay out a couple of ODC grants a month, and a lot of those are from the third-party auditors. So we only have a few that I monitor myself in-house, and this would just be adding to that small stack.
I make a motion, we take it off.
Second.
You're in favor of the amendment?
Yes.
Have a motion and a second to approve the amendment to the agreement. Any further discussion, questions?
Well, I mean, I don't know, we're giving money to another taxable entity out there, and so they ought to be able to get us anything we need. Shouldn't have a problem with a third-party audit. That's a lot of money, $5 million. I guess my question is, why are we, did they ask to not
No.
do it? Or are we doing it because we're behind? Or are we doing it because they want their money? What brought this up?
Well, they submitted a request for payment. When I went to start the process for payment, I read through the agreements always, saw that there was this added barrier to facilitating payment. And so I brought it to David to bring to the board. The answer could have been no when I talked to David, but he thought it was worth at least a conversation here in the meeting.
Yeah, I think, Thomas, that the conversation we had was, there's two reasons to do this. Number one is it expedites the payment, and one of the things that we've been troubled with, the organization's been troubled with, is the delay in payments being processed, in part being held up by the third-party compliance audit. So it begs the question of, do we really need to do a third-party? Are we compromising the ability to make sure that we're good stewards of the taxpayers' funds by not doing a third-party audit? In my opinion was, I don't think so. So that's hence the reason it come here. And in addition, I think those are $7,800 a pop. It's not a huge bunch of money, but it's $7,800. And so my opinion was, it's cheaper and more expeditious, and in my opinion, it really wasn't warranted. That's the reason.
One thing we need to make sure, or we get in the minutes, that this would only be on an individual basis when this comes up. Because if you're asking to verify employment and all that time
Right.
and everything else, we need a third party.
This-
audit.
Absolutely.
This is
We're
only,
gonna- If we're asking if someone to say, is the building built that we've seen for 2 years, and did the students pass, I think at $7,800 to get that verification might be a little stiff, but I just wanna make sure that we don't set a precedent of changing what the requirements are, unless it's,
and I think that would be important to have in the minutes, that we are only considering it with this agreement, this amendment, and it does not set a precedent going forward.
Yep, I think
And
it's
is
a
it
great
just
point to
this
make.
year, or is it for the rest of their contract?
No, it'd be if you amend the contract, it's gonna be for the rest of the contract.
So, if you get this stuff from them and you don't like what you get, can we still get a third party to, because you don't have time to go out there and look at their books and check, is there 440 kids, are they all passing?
So I would just ask for the reports to verify the numbers on the summary
So,
letter.
but my question is, can we, if you decide you don't have enough information, can we still do the third party?
well,
I
she'll
don't-
come back to us and say, no, she
That's
didn't
my-
approve the payment.
Okay,
Wasn't that the way it worked? If you had questions or anything, you'd come back to us and say.
Right.
She's not gonna submit it to us for payment
Unless she's-
she's satisfied that it should be paid.
and so,
That's really-
so if she says, I don't have enough time to do this, I want the third party deal, she can just go do that on her own.
I don't think, it doesn't sound like there's anything that's.
Yeah, I don't think she'd do it that way, because I think the board would need to know about that.
Yeah,
If we're not getting the information that we want in order to process the payment, then we need to have a conversation with Odessa College and say, why aren't you giving us the information we need?
I just
And
don't
the
want
board
us, I just
would-
don't want us 3 years down the road that we've funded this program for Odessa College and we're supposed to have 500 kids in it every semester, and by 3 years down the road, it's only got 200, and we're still giving them $1 million every year. See, that's what I'm.
Yeah, I'm based on what's gonna be reviewed, and Kaylee's gonna review information that is dictated in the agreement. They have to support X number of students that pass, okay? And if she doesn't get the information necessary to prove that up, she's not gonna recommend for us to pay him.
We could in the resolution, are we on that line item? I forget which one we're on. The
We're on
amendment, right?
15.
We're on the amendment,
Yeah.
okay. It says, to remove, the agreement is hereby amended to remove the requirement for an independent third-party compliance audit. We can put amended to remove the mandatory requirement for the audit. So that way it leaves an option in there if the board felt like there wasn't enough information being presented for payment, that we could still go out for third party.
Just from a language perspective, I don't know that it matters, because I don't think that it takes away the ability to do, if that's necessary, a third-party audit, or come back to what I don't think it takes. I don't think it takes away the ability to do that.
Okay,
However,
perfect.
it's written, how it's written now, I think it's okay.
Okay.
And I think to your point, Thomas, I think that we are not going to get a recommendation from the staff to pay this unless they provided information that supports that they are in compliance with the agreement.
And the ODC board president does sign off on all of the payments before we make them, so there's that added
Right.
Yeah,
eyes
true.
on the payment in the
Yep.
documents.
I just wanna make sure.
and I look at the detail.
Yeah, well, and I wanna make sure that if you come back and say it's not payment, we don't payment. We have the authority to do that, and then if we decide we need a third because they don't, we still have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Evan's way you're saying the wording doesn't.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, if we don't get sufficient information from Odessa College, we're gonna have a conversation with Odessa College.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
okay, so any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the amendment number 15, signify by aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, number 14 would be approving the first-year grant payment upon verified internal compliance review. So really, this piece, you haven't done have you done the internal
So
review?
I have looked at the documents and I concluded that I want some more information on the
Okay.
enrollment figures. So you maybe could
So
pass
when-
it upon, a verified internal review or
I think
something.
what we should do is table this one. I would entertain tabling this until you've done your review, because I don't think it's a good precedent to say, I'm gonna review this stuff, and then if I see that everything's proper, we'll go ahead and make the payment. I don't think we ought to approve it that way. I think you ought to come back and,
Come to David.
yeah, well,
Be a president.
You have to come to the board to get it
yeah,
approved.
come to the board to get
Yeah.
approval.
Okay.
And what you're looking, what you said is, right now, they've just sent a letter. But
And
you're gonna
you-
request.
Or say, are you concerned about the fact that now we're gonna push this back another month?
Yes, essentially. So they submitted this maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and I told them that we were going to bring it to the board. And really, the reason that we put both of these things on there is because you and I had talked about, David, that by the time we get the contract drawn up, amended,
Yeah,
whatever, and
that's
signed,
true.
then it would add a whole nother delay. So if we brought it back to the board next month, again, it would just add a whole nother delay to the time frame.
But are we acting out of an abundance of caution to make sure we're doing everything to make sure that the agreement is met, though? I understand the reason for delay, but is that cautious, is that a cautious delay that's warranted?
Yeah, because what you're telling us now is you're not sure. Am I understanding you correctly?
What I'm
You need
saying to you is I'd
verify.
like some more information.
Okay, if you want some more information, now that's a good enough excuse to tell them to wait one more month, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Because we're saying, we're past this going on the basis that you're gonna tell us when you feel comfortable, and you can't tell us that now.
I think that makes sense from what you said regarding, I don't have everything I need.
Yeah.
And if they say something, we can just blame you because you couldn't get it right.
Everyone else does. Just
But,
go
but
ahead.
if we meet, if you get all the stuff from them and we meet next month, you could still have them a check cut before the end of the year.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But let me just throw a hypothetical out there. If we amend the contract and let's just say it gets signed 1 or 2 weeks before the next board meeting, then technically the active agreement says we're just going to verify internally and it wouldn't have to come back to the board. Does that make sense?
No, you're always gonna come back to the board to tell us that they've met your requirements.
I don't do that for Welcome-In or ICA or anybody else. We just review those internally and David signs off on them. But since this is a different one, I can come back to the board for just this next one and then.
I don't like that process. I think that these payments, whether we're certifying a compliance through a third party or certifying compliance internally, that ought to come to the board.
Okay.
The board ought to know
Yeah.
every, I think that's really what and we probably need to include that in the minutes, that's really what the process ought to be.
Going forward, can we apply this, is that what you're saying, is apply the same deal that
Yeah.
she's gotta be satisfied, come to us, say, I'm okay.
Yeah,
instead of just-
it's got to be in a board agenda item that we approve that payment based on the fact that we've done our internal
Okay.
review and that the staff is recommending we make the payment because the grantee has satisfied all the requirements.
Okay. That is going to add some time to
Yeah.
the payouts, but if
Yeah,
that's what
but-
the board has decided,
Yeah.
then yeah, we'll do that.
But once we get the contract amended, it could be, not having the third party do the compliance review is gonna save us some time. There's
It
no
will.
question about it.
That's
So
true.
It'll be better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But for example, I have a payout for, let's just say I go in for ICA. Typically, we would turn that around within 1 to 2 business weeks. But our grantees are just going to have to understand that there's been a change in process, so we may just talk about how we're going to let them know that we're changing our processes
Yeah,
a little bit,
yeah.
and we can do that. We can reach out
Okay.
to our contacts for those grants and just
Yeah,
let them know.
let's make sure we're doing that.
Okay.
So I would entertain a motion to table this. Or you can just basically say, or you can make a motion to reject it because we haven't had done the review yet. That's probably better. Then we don't have to mess with bringing it off the table and all that. The table's full.
Yeah, it's not even Thanksgiving yet. Imagine that.
I would entertain a motion to reject this because we haven't done the internal review yet.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion, question, comments? If not, all those in favor signify by aye. Or Kevin?
Just to, and you would just put this on the next month's agenda?
Yep.
Yep. That's it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, upcoming, thank you,
Thank
Kaylee.
you.
That was a little bit more deliberate than we needed, but worked out. Okay, upcoming dates for, the next meeting is Thursday, December 11th. Have everybody looked at their calendars? And you don't actually have to do that. I mean, if something comes up, you get back to the office or something, says, oh man, I can't meet then. Let us know. We'll try to work around those. Does anybody know right off the bat that you can't do December 11th?
That works for me.
I'm good.
I think so.
All right, I wanted to also advise you that we have, or remind you that we have a meeting Tuesday with a joint meeting with the council. I think that's going to be very productive. It's basically, we're going to provide the council with, here's how we do economic development, if you will. We have a new member of our board who's been approved by the council, hadn't been sworn in yet, but he will be at that meeting. Jefferson Cox was approved at the council meeting this week. He's a former member of the Compliance Committee and former chairman of the Compliance Committee. So his learning curve is going to be a little bit shorter than someone else. And I think that's all I have, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.